I apologize for how I acted yesterday. Please forgive me.
No need to apologize. It's a lot to go through the past, especially one as dark as yours.
I left off to when I woke up from the coma, correct?
Correct.
Of course. When I woke up, I was breathing very heavily, and Dr. Tomb was sitting next to me. He had his golden eyes as he held my shoulders.
Breathe. Breathe. It's okay. You're okay.
I kept my eyes on him for a good minute before looking around the hospital room I was in. I felt strange, to say the least. My hearing went up so high that I thought the earth was a radio, and someone turned it up full blast. It wasn't just my hearing. My sense of smell was also strange. I could smell sweetness all around me, but it wasn't the sugary sweetness you would know. It was sweet, but also salty and sour at the same time. I was smelling blood. I looked down at myself, seeing I was covered in bandages, almost head to toe. Dr. Tomb chuckled at me as he spoke.
You must be feeling so confused right now, huh, kiddo? Don't worry. I'm here to help you. What's the last thing you remember?
I looked up at the doctor and tried speaking, but nothing was coming out. Dr. Tomb nodded softly at me.
That's all right. Take as long as you need.
I took a deep breath, and in a raspy voice, I managed to say, I was kitchen. As I recalled the memories, I remembered Thistle was there. I had to find her. Thistle. Where is she? Is she okay? The doctor seemed a bit confused before something clicked in his head.
Oh, Thistle must be the one your parents told me about. The one by, the apple tree.
I nodded to him to show him he was correct. He continued to say,
Well, I don't know how to tell you this, but your friend Thistle? She isn't here. She was never here.
Of course I didn't believe him. I continued to question where she was and had the urge to see her. Dr. Tomb wanted me to stay in bed, but I ended up running out of the hospital. Before I could reach the sun, Dr. Tomb stopped me and pulled me back.
Now hold on. The sun is out. You can't go out there when the sun is shining.
At that point, I still didn't understand why this was happening to me. I didn't understand why Dr. Tomb was so persistent to keep me away from my Thistle. As I struggled to go find her, Dr. Tomb continued to hold me back with such strength I couldn't get out of. He told me,
How about this? You could run back to the house, or the apple tree I was told about, when the sun is gone. I won't stop you, but I will be behind you, keeping an eye on you.
I didn't want to wait, but I took the deal and waited. As we waited, Dr. Tomb began explaining what had happened to me.
You've been in a coma for 2 months now, kiddo. You had a seizure in your kitchen and left the stove on, creating a huge fire. Half of your house was burned down.
I was in shock hearing this. As I thought back, I remembered Thistle getting attacked by an orange explosion. I couldn't help but think my Thistle was dead from the flames. I watched the light through the curtains slowly disappear When the sun was finally low enough, I booked it out of the doors. I ran all the way home, and the house looked new, like it was torn down, then rebuilt. I did want to see my parents and sister, but I was looking for Thistle, and ran to the apple tree, only to find it dead and wilted. I tried calling out to Thistle. There was no answer. I ran to her house to see if she was there, only to find out that house has been empty for years. It was true. All those memories. All those Saturdays with Thistle. They were all in my head. The love of my life never existed. I don't know what to say. I'm so sorry you had to go through that, Raine. I can't even imagine the pain you must have felt. All those years, questioning what was happening around me. Why no one knew about this. Why I was sent to all those doctors. I looked like a mental case. I was in so much pain. I blacked out. All the anger, the sadness, desperation. It all came rushing in. It tore off bandages from my body, and these were left on my skin, most cleared. But not all. I didn't know what I was doing until it was too late. When I calmed down to think rationally, Dr. Toom was holding me back. I was staring at my father's terrified expression. I looked down and saw both my mother and sister covered in blood on the floor. Dr. Toom dragged me out of the house, and I broke down. He carried me to this very castle where I reside till today. Dr. Toom cared for me for a long while. He showed me how to hunt and how to dispose evidence of our killings. He trained me to control my fangs. The one thing that he couldn't do much for was my broken heart. I can only imagine. I wish there was something I could say or do to make it better. It wasn't all too bad. Dr. Toom and I got really close. So close, he ended up acting like the father I wanted. Supportive, helpful, encouraging. He helped me continue my artistic dream, even when Thistle wasn't there. He knew I cared about Thistle so much, so he helped me through the grief. This meaning, he made her a tombstone, which is currently in the garden between two apple trees. When he showed me what he did, I was a mess. He even made her last name Monurvous and gave me a paper, a marriage certificate. Even though it hurt, this helped me make a portrait of us. I painted us in our human forms so I can remember what I lost when I turned into a vampire. Every night, I cried. I always dreamed that same nightmare of Thistle burning, wishing I did something different so she would be saved. I only wanted to see my Thistle again, but I am still too much of a coward to die. 6 years had passed, and Dr. Tomb was caught. I felt something off when I realized Dr. Tomb was late getting home. The sun was almost up, and I went to the front door to see a mob of people chasing Dr. Tomb. He was going to turn a patient of his into a vampire, but a nurse caught him in the act, wreaking havoc for us. I got scared, and I tried to hold out my hand to him to help him get home faster, but he stopped. The look in his eyes made me worry. He looked scared. He looked back at the mob, and when he turned back to me, he gave me a smile. I ran to the side of the castle near the cliff. I closed the doors before the mob came in, and I ran to the back door to open it. When I did, the sun came up and burned my face slightly. I only saw a glimpse, but Dr. Tomb was just standing out there. The sun blocked me from closing the door, but I already knew what happened. I slipped down the wall and screamed as I cried. Oh my God. Can't even imagine how hard that must have been for you. That night, I walked out to see his silhouette. He had his arms crossed over his chest, and a single tear on his cheek. I barely touched his face, for his ashes flew away in the cold wind. That must have been so hard for you. I'm sorry you had to go through all that. I've lost so much, so I rarely ever connect anymore. The only other person I ever let close is my butler, Tyler. But now, you know. I understand. It's not easy to open up to people after going through what you have. But that you've allowed me and Tyler to get this close, I'm honored. Thank you for listening. Thank you for letting me interview you.